Welcome to the Financial Planners Southeast Asia podcast, a show dedicated to driving the positive evolution of financial advice, specifically within Southeast Asia. To join a global community of financial advisors sharing and learning with one another to drive the positive evolution of financial advice, head to xyadvisor.com. Welcome to another episode of the Financial Planners Southeast Asian podcast. Gwen here, and today we have a licensed financial planner as well as the director of Wealth Vantage Advisory, Mr. Idham Idris. Thank you so much for being on the show, Idham.
Thank you for having me.
Right, and I'm very keen to chat with you today with regards to financial advice in Malaysia, and in particular your financial planning advice business, which is the Wealth Vantage Advisory. But before we start on that, I just wanted our listeners to get to know you more. So, how long have you been in the financial advice industry?
Okay. So first of all, thank you for having me on the show.
Yeah.
I started out way back in 2003 as a unit trust consultant. So basically selling unit trust products, mutual funds, I think it's more popularly known, and progressed towards life insurance, and after that, going into estate planning. So that was in a span of over roughly about 12 years where I went through that journey.
Oh, amazing.
So financial advice was something relatively recent.
Yeah.
Where I had a greater awareness in terms of how the client base was actually changing here in Malaysia. So they got more sophisticated. They want more in terms of what the intermediaries can provide. And they don't want people coming up to them and just try to sell products.
Yeah.
So that was the turning point for me to make that change to financial advisory, which is somewhere around 2013, where I first got that realization. So from then onwards, I had to take the necessary certifications and the licensing process to get the necessary licenses to practice. Mm-hmm. And I've been a fully licensed financial planner since 2018. So only about 3 years.
Yeah, because I know that it takes a long time for you guys to get the certification in Malaysia, because you have to take, I think, it takes a long time for you to get certified. But I'm actually curious. So I did a little bit of research, and I learned that you were a graduate in information systems engineering. So how did someone from like a tech field jump to a financial advice field of career?
Oh, very good question. IT and technology is actually a deep passion of mine. I really enjoy, technology. Yeah. So in fact, in hindsight, it was actually a blessing in disguise, because now with fintech and with all the new technologies coming into finance, I have a greater appreciation and understanding in terms of what are the challenges and the things that are required, and perhaps even an insight into how technology can help in personal financial management.
Yes, definitely.
So I was a scholarship graduate, which means that I received scholarship from a company to continue further my studies in IT. And after a few years bonded with the company, I decided to leave to switch over to financial, more for the reason because I think at that time I wasn't happy with the corporate life. So it was nothing to do with the actual industry of or the type of work that I was doing, but I didn't feel that corporate life is fulfilling for me. So which is why I made that jump into entrepreneurship. At that time, that is what I had in mind. Or what I was doing was actually going into entrepreneurship, and the field was chosen only because I felt that I could make money. That's all.
But
So, but in fact, I found out that there's a huge need for it,
yes.
and I grew to appreciate it, and I felt that I could contribute a lot in the field. So, which is why I stuck with it for the past, it's 18 years already.
Yeah, yeah. And 18 years is such a long time, if you're just in it for the career change, right? So I'm sure that you really found something that you are passionate about to stay for 18 years in the industry. And I guess why I asked is because I also came from technology. I graduated information technology as well, and here I
Mm.
am in the financial advice industry too. And I guess yes, and because we know like a lot of us have different stories on how we started, and it's very interesting that you started that way, that you just wanted to change careers, and yet you stayed. So what was the driving force that made you stay, and you just woke up and 18 years later you're still in this industry?
I think in the initial 5 years, it was something new, very exciting. I was learning a lot of new things. I always had a interest in business and entrepreneurship, and I didn't know anything about that before. So coming into becoming a tied agent with a financial services company gave me that platform to understand and at least experience what it was like doing marketing, doing sales, and prospecting, and building up your client book and all that. So it was a very interesting experience. I think around closer to the 10th year, I was more like, there must be a better way of doing this. Yeah, I always had that in mind.
Mm.
And I was like thinking, what are the things that I can do differently that can add more value to my potential clients? And that's when I found out that there is this track to go into financial planning and financial advisory, which at the time in Malaysia is still I would say very undeveloped. Currently, even the practicing licensed financial planners is less than 1,000 people for the whole country,
Mm.
compared to career tied agents numbering in the tens of thousands.
Mm. Yeah.
So I felt like that I'm in a position and I have the experience and the understanding to sort of carve out a new area in Malaysia in financial planning and financial advisory. I always try to compare it to the blue ocean strategy,
Oh, yes,
where
yes.
a lot of people or financial services agents or intermediaries, they're in the red ocean. And definitely what I'm doing now is very, very blue ocean. It's just that a lot of the existing agents, they don't dare to make that jump, or they are scared to make that jump, or they don't feel like they have the capacity to make that change. So I felt fortunate enough that I could do that, and this is where I feel like I can grow further in the industry.
Oh, wonderful. And yes, I definitely agree. And for those of you who are not familiar with the Blue Ocean strategy, it's actually it's a book. It's a strategy that was introduced by the book of the same name, and it's from Renee. I'm sure I'm going to butcher his name, but Renee Mauborgne, and Chan Kim, the W Chan Kim. So it's a highly suggested read. It's a wonderful book. So and I'm very it was very interesting to learn that you have applied the blue ocean strategy. But aside from that, since you're now a financial planner, do you happen to have an ideal client now that you've been 18 years in the industry?
It's it's different. I can say when you're looking at through the lens of a financial planner and financial advisor. I think when I started out earlier in my career, it was always talking about, or at least the conversation was always about the rich clients. You know,
Yes.
we were always looking at which client can contribute in terms of buying the biggest premiums or investing the most money, etc. As a financial planner and financial advisor, that almost becomes like a secondary thought. The first most important, I would say, client profile or characteristic is they are willing to work with you and they
Mm.
work with you as partners in trying to solve their financial concerns. So that is always the number one consideration when I'm looking at as a lens of financial planner and financial advisor. Because in order for them to achieve what they want or how I can help them to achieve what they want, there must be this mutual respect, understanding as partners in terms of how we can work together to achieve the same goal. And how we go about that is through whatever either product implementations, advice, changes that they have to make within their own, how they manage their own financial. All of that has to be taken into account. So a more holistic and more comprehensive view. So I do become more selective, but I become happier.
Mm. Yes, yes. So
Yeah.
I'm glad that you pointed that out because I noticed that when someone is new in the financial planning sector, in the financial advice industry, I do notice that some financial planners tend to take clients regardless of thinking about without thinking about if they would work well together. And I guess I understand because they're still new in the industry and they would like to acquire as many clients as they possibly can to keep their business afloat. But sometimes, and I think you would agree that sometimes your plans with your clients they don't get followed through because you and the client didn't have a mutual understanding, or as you mentioned, there's no respect for each other's sides. And I think that's an important, and I'm happy that you mentioned that you are selective but you're happier because of that.
So the mutual understanding I think is very important,
Hmm.
because when working together, we just want to make sure that we're doing the right thing. My
Hmm.
focus in terms of where Wealth Vantage, my firm,
Hmm.
our vision statement is making sure that we do the right things. Yeah. So in doing so, we do need that partnership arrangement. We do need that sort of like conversation. So it's not like a position where we are taking a higher position than the client or the client takes a higher position than us. So
Yeah,
it's not that kind of sort of like a master servant relationship. It's very, very much a partnership arrangement. So for those financial planners that I see where they're growing their business, they are doing well in terms of their advisory. They can bring in the assets under advisory. They can have all the products. It's because of the partnership arrangement is working well. So to me that is number one. That is the number one consideration.
that's so true. And you also mentioned that you were getting into your firm now, Wealth Advantage Advisory. So you are directing your firm, but at the same time, you're still taking in clients as a financial planner, right?
Right, that's right.
All right. So my first question, I guess, is how do you manage your time between being a financial planner as well as being a director of a company? Because I do checked out your website, and you do have a fair number of financial planners. So you are a big team.
Right. Yes, that's right. So we started out with only 4 people,
Mm.
and with the 3 directors, myself, and my 2 other partners, and 1 employee. That's how we started the
Yeah.
company. And from then on, we had to put in all the pieces together in terms of building up the corporate structure, the the framework in terms of how to do the advisory process, the way that we run things, where we have like a back office team and a para planning team, and we have the operations department, building that up, and at the same time us going out and meeting clients,
Yeah.
and as well as hiring people to become the organization, the employees of the organization, because our financial advisors are not our employees. They are licensed with us, but they work based on revenue sharing basis with us. So they're technically our business partners.
Yeah.
But then the firm itself has to be managed in a proper corporate structure. So we had to bring in all those pieces together. At this point in time, I think we have around 21 employees,
Mm,
and then
yeah.
about 33 advisors currently. So it has grown, and we look forward to growing further. But it has been quite a challenge, like you mentioned, running the company and going out and meeting clients as well. If you wanna ask, like, how do we manage it? It's a very delicate tightrope. I would say, yeah, we're just like, we cannot. There, of course, there. I mean, I cannot say that we sometimes we never drop the ball. Of course, we do. Given the way it is, but I think it's a sacrifice early on. All start. We view ourselves like a tech startup. I think you're very familiar, where even the founders, then they have to go out. They have to make deals and go out, do marketing, whatever that it takes.
Mm.
So I think we are already starting to get those results that we wanted early on when we started the company. Now it's just a matter of growing it further and making it more sustainable, and getting the message out, because like I said just now, financial planning and advisory is very, very new in
Yeah.
Malaysia,
Yeah.
and we want to make our mark, and make a difference in terms of how customers or clients view the service of financial planning.
Yeah, that's true because and I talked to this with your fellow Malaysian financial advisors that there is still a bit of prejudice in terms of, I don't know if prejudice is the right term, but I guess like people are still thinking, or some Malaysians still think that financial planning and financial advice is only for rich people, and
Right.
that yeah, and then middle class don't need it because they can just manage their money on their own. So like what do you think about that, and how do you usually address it if it comes up?
I wouldn't say it's wrong,
Mm.
but I think it depends on the financial advisor themselves. In our case, we try to make it affordable, and we try to make it very structured and very process based. In fact, I think at one point, if somebody came, I think we had one of the people coming in to look at how we do things, and they commented that we almost look like a manufacturing floor, you know.
Mm.
where we design things so things move from one step to another step to another step, because we have all these different parts moving and have like different support pillars in to make sure that the financial plan comes out the way it's supposed to come out. So it's I know that there are some firms where they everything is depend on that advisor to do A to Z. You know, they had to come up with the plan, they had to figure things out. Whereas we have tried to give how to say support where the work cuts down on the advisor side, and they can actually go out and see more people.
Yeah.
So in doing so, they're able to service more. I would say a more wide range of clients. But at the same time, if they still want to choose to see just the high net worth or the private clients, you know, they're welcome to do so. They're free to do
Yeah.
so. There's nothing wrong with that. It's
Yeah.
just that we do offer a lot of support from the company side, from the firm side, for them to really push themselves and go to the next and break through to the next level.
Yeah, that's wonderful because there's a lot of paperwork, right? And a financial planner, instead of they would want their time to be spent, speaking with clients and helping them out, making their financial lives better, but because of paperwork, it that might get they might get stuck in paperwork. They may see less people, so it's good to know that your firm is there to support them, and that's what they can expect from you. That's what financial planners can expect from you. But I guess my next question would be, what would you require from your financial planners? What do you think is a great fit for Wealth Vantage Advisory?
That's a very good question. I mean, we're trying to partly solve that problem right now.
Mm,
The main reason being is that because the industry has grown the way that it has in the past, I would say 40 years, when we're talking about insurance agents and unit trust agents. So there's a very, very strong and entrenched way of doing things in terms of selling,
yes,
you know,
yes.
selling
Hard
products,
selling, yeah.
hard selling, product pushing, you know,
Yes,
that's the term. So to get this transition first into what we call need-based or consultative kind of conversation with client, it's actually a huge undertaking here currently. But the problem is financial planning and advisory is beyond that. So
yes.
you actually have to make that move from the traditional hard selling product pushing into something that is more consultative, where you actually talk about the client's needs. You
Yeah.
know, hard selling doesn't do that. You just like, okay, I have this product, it's the best product in the world, please buy it, you know. Whereas you go to consultative, you actually have a deeper conversation in terms of trying to find out what the client needs, what kind of products would fit or would match, and you try to do so within that capacity, the small selection that you might have because you are a tied agent. Whereas if you move to financial planning advisory, it busts the whole thing wide open because you suddenly have more products, you have more types of services that you can provide, and then there's that fee-based advisory part that you can also charge to clients, because for our traditional agents here in Malaysia, they cannot charge any fees. So once you start to
Mm,
move into financial planning and financial advisory, then you can
yeah.
start to charge fees where you don't actually need to depend on commissions from product pushing or product selling. So it has been a very challenging journey for us to find this kind of advisors who are actually looking to transition towards financial planning and advisory, because they have been so how to say deep within that culture and ecosystem, I would say, that to them that they don't see any other way of doing the business. And that's why I feel like we sort of like try to need to stand out and shout out saying that, hey, you know, there's a better way and a different way of doing it.
Mm.
Maybe you like to check us out and see how we can actually help you grow your business in a more sustainable and profitable way.
Yes, that's true because there are a lot of people now do find the value of insurance, but the financial advice or financial planning industry is still relatively new, as you mentioned earlier as well. So there's still a lot of things that you can do, and there's a lot of potential in the industry, right? And so it's just a matter of finding the right people. But in terms of the business as well, so you grew from just having one employee to now you have 21 employees, and you also have 30 plus and counting financial planners. But how did you manage to reach that growth? Because I know that you mentioned you started out with just the three of you, going out there and at the same time trying to building the firm. But now that you've grown, like, how are you able to manage that growth that your firm has?
I think what we did right in, well, actually, I'm not sure whether you want to say whether we did it right, but maybe we got lucky. Because initially we had when we came in, we sort of already know a group of people that wanted to make this change,
Mm,
wanted to make this jump. So it was around, if I'm not mistaken, around 15 odd advisors.
mm,
So when these 15 advisors came on board, 15 agents actually, 15
mm,
agents came
yeah.
on board, they brought in some of their previous business as well. So
Mm,
we were actually able to, leverage on that in terms of getting the revenue quickly, yeah,
mm,
building up that revenue stream quickly for the company. But it was still a journey, it was still a process. And, of course, we didn't hire the right people. I mean, I don't think any company hires the right people that they want in the
straight
first,
away,
say, one or
yeah.
2 years. So we had to go through that process, of hiring and letting go of people that we feel didn't fit in. But we did that in a very, I would say, I wouldn't say fast, but we had a very clear direction in terms of where we wanted to go in terms of the company side and as well as the business side. So the company, in terms of what is the structure that we need to put in place. We know that we need to have the operations department, the back office planning and solutions department, the customer service team, the training department, all that we had to build from scratch.
Mm,
So supported by these advisors who are able to bring their business and at least give us that runway in terms of the capital needed to slowly, well, I wouldn't say slowly, but at least we are reinvesting all that what we receive back into the business. So it took us, so we started around early 2018.
yeah.
So 18, 19, 20. So this would be our fourth year.
Yeah, so that's why it's very impressive. So in just 4 years, you've grown to be like 50 plus people, bigger than you actually started with just four. And I think it's good that you think that you're just lucky, but I feel like it's more than just luck
No, I
because
mean, the thing is, we always, when we've had like regulators, discussions with regulators, and they would ask us, why are you doing it this way or that way? And we say, to be honest, we don't have any, I would say, template of how to do it. What
yeah,
we are referring to most of the time is looking at how other countries are doing it. So one of our biggest, I would say, reference model was Australia.
yes, yeah.
We tried to look at what Australia was doing,
Mm,
and we were trying to look at how they structure their company and
mm,
what kind of business structure they're offering to their advisors, the way that they structure the revenue share, all those things. We were always referring to examples or models that is outside of Malaysia, because in Malaysia there was nothing what we think that we wanted to be. There was nothing like that.
yeah, yeah.
So a lot of it was like, just okay, let's let's copy that part and see
Let's
if it
see if it
works here
works.
in Malaysia.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's
So
good.
and actually that came from, I think, one of I remember I attended one of these fund launches way back, I think in 2011 or 2012. And the CEO of the asset management company at the time was saying that, he said, I remember the quote very clearly. He said, it's actually very easy to do business in Malaysia, he said,
Mm.
because all you need to do is just look at what works overseas and you just bring it over to Malaysia. Just
Mm.
copy, you know?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
in a way, we're trying to see whether, does the financial advisory or planning model that exists now in Australia, US, UK, or Singapore, for example, can we bring parts of it or elements of it into Malaysia and make it a Malaysian financial planning model?
Yeah, and that's I think that's very smart because there are already people that already have put in the work with setting up that business model, and all you have to do is just, of course, copy what works for them, and then tweak it to your own liking to make sure that it fits well with not only you as your business, but with Malaysian people as well. So that's really nice. And you've copied Australian as well. And yes, I do agree. Australia has like one of the most comprehensive like financial advice industry in the world. It's really cool because you mentioned paraplanners, and I know that here in the Philippines we don't have paraplanners yet. So
Mm.
that was very interesting that I heard that from you. And modeling it from an Australian system for financial advice, like what do you think would you change if in case you went back to time and started your company all over again? What would you have liked to not do in the first place?
Right. So I think, oh, that's a very good question. My feeling is that we should have focused more on the financial planning and advisory aspect very early on. So in fact, we waited about a whole year before we actually got really into financial planning and advisory and
Mm,
setting up that framework and structure, etc. And I really feel that we should have done it much earlier because it does give us more time in terms of inculcating the right way of doing things to our advisors,
mhm,
and or else they would still be in that mode of trying to slowly change when we actually came
mhm,
came out with that process flow. So I felt like if we had started earlier, then that change would be faster and new people coming in didn't have to sit between, because we did that consultative need based
mhm,
uh, advisory in our first year, you
mhm.
know,
Yeah,
where before we start to move towards full financial planning, and that whole framework that I mentioned,
yeah.
that we rolled out to our team.
Mhm,
I wish that we had done that much earlier. Uh, so there was, I would say, less confusion because we had some people coming in from other companies
mhm,
where they were career agents, and they wanted to just transition to whatever that they were doing there
mhm.
to doing the same thing but in a
But in a different
in the
company.
finance, yeah, in a
Yeah.
different company. So
Mm,
uh, I didn't think that was the right approach. Yeah. So
yeah.
we had one or two cases, or at least not one or two cases, a few people that is no longer with the firm because it wasn't the direction that they were looking at in the first place. So in fact, they were just looking at, can I sell more products and use leverage on the platform in that manner, becoming a
Mm,
multi-product provider. But we didn't want to do that. That's not what we wanted to go in. That direction wasn't what we wanted to go in. So I wish that part we had done much earlier.
oh, that's wonderful. But I'm glad that just you came to realize that in just a year. Some other companies take much more time in order to like. I know that even if they have pinpointed like pain points in their company, it takes longer for them to pivot. So it's good to know that you were able to change direction, and then make sure that your goal was clear all throughout your staff. And so now, like, aside from financial planning, what are some other like type of services are you offering? Do you offer any other types of services aside from financial planning in your firm?
Well, traditionally, financial advisory and financial planning firms, once they go into a more, I would say, on the wealthier client side, they tend to move towards family office,
Mm,
or maybe from the start, they would just be a family office outfit. So what we're trying to look at is how can we serve actually corporates and small medium enterprises better. So this is where we feel like we have an sort of an edge, because we do have advisors in our firm that have management consulting experience and business advisory experience. So we're trying to look into ways into how we can actually serve the smaller companies. I wouldn't say small as in really small, but the small and medium enterprises that might get overlooked by the bigger management or consulting firms,
yeah,
in terms of how they want to manage their the corporate financials. So this is something that we're actually looking into. Family office, we do actually have a lot of queries from families that are looking into succession planning. So we are looking at some of that. But to be frank, these are new areas of growth for us. But the core financial planning service that we provide is a huge opportunity here in Malaysia because of that blue ocean segment, blue ocean strategy that I
strategy.
mentioned
Yeah.
earlier. Whereas when you go, or when you start to go into family office and corporate advisory, business advisory, you're already competing with some people that is already in that space for quite some
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
So we're trying to serve the different needs of our target market. We're trying to serve their needs, but at the same time, we just can't. We just need to make sure that we have our eye on the eye on the ball.
Yes, definitely. But that's good that, um, because it's always good to serve the people that need your service, and you have to like mold your company or your business strategy towards that. And so, yeah, like, I guess my question now is, before we do end the show, Idham, is what would you advise financial advisors who would like to start a financial advice firm? What do you think would be like a good thing for them to start thinking about?
I think for a lot of people, when they try to open or build up their own company, they might feel like they want to have their own brand or identity. And I think here in Southeast Asia is very, very much personality based, where
Mm,
there is like a figurehead, you know. So sometimes you might get lost in that.
mm,
Whereas you need to make sure that you do have the proper structure in place. You
mm.
need to have the proper team in place.
Yeah,
It's not a one man show. You cannot do it on your own. Definitely, you need to bring in the right people that can fill in those necessary positions in the corporate structure so that you can build up from there. I always feel like we were very fortunate because, my, we had three people, three partners. So myself and one of my other partners, we are the ones who are we grew in the financial services industry, so we know very well in terms of the whole landscape, in terms of the business, the products, the way the business has been run.
yeah,
But my other partner was very much a corporate guy,
yeah.
so he was able to provide the context in terms of how to build a company, how to build an organization. and putting the proper processes, the necessary people that we need in order for us to grow. So we're very much a corporate structure, because if you look at a lot of financial firms in Malaysia, they're more like an agency.
Yes,
you know
yes.
so they have like recruits and downlines, and that different tier structure. We
Yes.
don't have any of that. We're very we are very corporate based financial advisory firm. So a lot of people, that's the first thing that they say when they come to us and say, oh, this is not what I expected. I thought
Yes.
like I had to be recruited in, and there's a leader, and things like that. But
Yes. The
yeah.
traditional
So
like
yeah, the
networking type.
traditional. Yeah, correct. Yeah. So we're not like that. We're very different in terms of how we structure the company itself, and the way that we do business, or we with our financial advisors. So I hope that I think we are moving towards the right direction, and hopefully that we are getting better support in terms of conversations with regulators.
Mm.
Previously, I think they are more focused on the product side, but now they are also looking more into the advisory side, because I feel
Oh,
like
that's good.
they feel like this needs more, how to say, dialogue with the
Yeah.
stakeholders, to make sure that they grow the financial advisory and financial planning as industry in Malaysia in a healthy manner.
Yes, definitely. And Malaysia, I feel like is growing faster, going faster to the right direction, which is really good and also good for your firm as well, because you get to be in the forefront of that change and on that positive evolution. So thank you so much, Idham. And before we finally end the show, where can people contact you if they want to get to know you more? Maybe a financial planner hears this and wants to be part of your team. How do they contact you?
All right. So if you want to reach out to me personally, you can get on my LinkedIn, which is just my name, Idham Idris. But if you want to find out more about the firm, you can go to our website, www.wealthvantage.com.my. We're also on Facebook under Wealth Vantage Advisory, Instagram, Twitter, we're everywhere. We have a very good branding and marketing team.
Oh,
So
yes, yes.
we have all these things going on: podcasts, live shows, webinars, everything. Everything is going on.
Uh,
Yeah,
your marketing team is working very hard. That's good.
yeah.
Right. So thank you so much, Idham. And be sure to tag all of your social media in the show notes of this podcast. So again, thank you so much for coming in and sharing your thoughts and experience with regards to the financial advice industry in Australia. I'm sorry, in Malaysia, where you've taken the model from Australia, and also for sharing everything that you know about starting a financial advice company. I'm sure that a lot of our listeners will find that very valuable. Have a good one and more power.
Thank you, and it was my pleasure. Thank you so much, Gwen.